Welcome to the Irn-Cru podcast, an NFL podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. You are listening to and watching the Review Crew. And I am your host, Brian, the conscience of Cleveland, or as I'm renaming myself, actually, I'm taking a new name, the Conqueror of Ohio, Brian Donlan. It's a pleasure with you folks. It's been a long and arduous off-season. We have finally, at long last, had our first full Sunday of football. Tonight, we are going to review all of the big moments for the Week 1 games. We are going to look alongside our traditional statistic of the week, and we're basically just going to revel in the fact that football is back. We've still got Monday Night Football to go, of course, but it is back. Football is here again. Now, as always, folks, like, subscribe, follow the crew on Twitter, on Instagram, on Twitch, on YouTube, everywhere you get your podcast, you can keep up with us, and we would love to have you join the crew community. Send us your messages, get in touch with the show. We would love to get some of your thoughts and your opinions on air with us. Now, as always, I am joined by the cream of the crop of the crew here to review Week 1's action. And, well, to be fair, I say the cream of the crop. Gav might not feel like much of a giant this week, but he is with us, and Gav is with us tonight. How are you doing, mate?
It was a pretty brutal weekend, all in all. I think after they would Scotland get a pretty comprehensive defeat against the Springboks in the rugby yesterday, and then I woke up to that 40 burger this morning. So yeah, been better.
Don't you worry, mate. I will give you ample opportunity to discuss your team's antics later on in the pod. And well, Sunday started really well for Kev. Then it got decidedly shaky, and it made him very nervous, and he couldn't go to his bed because he had to make sure he stayed up to the end. But to be fair, Victory Monday is Victory Monday, Kev. How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, like you say, it was a bit ropey. Promised to be a lot more straightforward in the beginning, but turned into a rather difficult night. Much more difficult than I would have liked, but I'm an Eagles fan, so I'm used to it.
I'm an Eagles fan. So it's not like we only just made it to the Super Bowl. I'm used to it. Says as if he's like a Cardinals fan. Right, okay, folks. As always, we are going to get going with our kick-off question of the week. And now, this week, I don't know if you've kept up with this particular bit of news, boys, but Dak has got new ink. Now, Dak got himself a full leg sleeve done, and to be fair, it actually looks pretty smart. However, he made the decision to get this done, and it was an 11-hour stint getting himself done, and he kept it secret for the team, kept it secret for the coaches, the owner, or the rest of it, because particularly baffling as part of this decision was he went under for it. He actually had them come out to his house and put him under a general anaesthetic for the 11-hour procedure. Now, that's odd, and that's a bit baffling to me, particularly as somebody that's got some tattoos. But to then have Dak come out when he was asked about it and be told how unusual it was like, to quote, I get that, but I'm crazy. That's my point, that's my point is I know I am. I'm not afraid of nothing, with the exception of a little bit of pain for getting yourself tattooed. So, the kick-off question to kick us off, boys, is Dak basically a big wuss for going under for his 11-hour tattoo session? What do we think, chaps?
Yes.
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
In one word. Yes, he is.
I mean, I've only had a couple of tattoos, 2 very small tattoos, but I enjoyed getting it done. I would be gutted if I missed out on that. I think that's all part of the fun of getting a tattoo, is sitting through it. But who knows?
Kev, true to form there, because dear viewers and listeners, what you can't actually see is that Kev's currently got little nipple clamps on because he enjoys the pain just that little bit, and it gets him off. That's why he always makes sure the camera ends just at that critical point in his chest. What about yourself, Gav? Are you going to step in? Are you going to be the saviour? I know you might not feel like being Dak's saviour today of all days, but you feel like saving his reputation, any?
I don't think I don't think he'd be kind enough to save his reputation. Only to say that I'm probably not in a good place to throw shade at Dak this weekend.
Is this up there with the age old Scottish mother's line? If you've got nothing nice to say nothing at all.
That's exactly it.
Do you know what? I'm going to throw shade at that because I've got hundreds of tattoos. And my longest session was 12 and a wee bit hours, and I sat there for the whole hog getting my arm done. I didn't go in there, didn't use numbing cream, which is another one that I find a bit odd. See, particularly for a profession where a big part of Dak's game has to be being able to be leathered by exceptionally large, very angry men. The fact that he can't hack getting a tattoo done, I find really bizarre. Maybe that's why his fantasy score was so poor for me last night. Right. Okay, gents. We're limbered up. We're ready to approach the game. And we do still have Monday Night Football to look forward to. We'll make a wee reference to that later. But we have had a fantastic slate of week 1 games to enjoy. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to review the Cru's top 5 games. Now, we have picked 5 of the games, not necessarily the ones that the preview crew were discussing, although we do have a wee bit of overlap. But these are the games that after the games have been and done, we look back on and we think, do you know what? Those were cracking games. And there's maybe one in there just because I want to stick a boot in a bit. So we're not going to get to that one quite yet. We are going to start with Kev, who is going to talk us through his beloved Philadelphia Eagles doing battle with them out of New England, the New England Patriots. Take it away, Kev. How did your Sunday night unfold as an Eagles fan?
Well, like I said a bit earlier on, it started great. It promised to be a pretty straightforward week 1 win. The Eagles in the first quarter, we went 16-0 up, thanks to a field goal early and then a 70-yard interception return from Slay, and then another touchdown from Devontae Smith, a nice tight wee pass into Devontae. And at that point, it looked like New England were all over the place. It looked like they just hadn't turned up for the season opener, and it looked like it was going to be straightforward.
Would you say that it looked like you had slayed them?
Slayed them, yeah. Then into the second quarter, just slowly but surely, things started to turn. New England started getting on top. Their defense, who were all over the place in that first quarter, started playing a lot better, and from there on, guys like Ramondre Stevenson started getting in to the game a lot more. Kendrick Bourne scored 2 touchdowns, and Hunter Henry one as well, and it turned it into a much tougher game than I thought it was going to be. And I think the takeaways for me from that game were New England seem like they're going to be a lot better this season than I thought prior to the opening game. I think Mac Jones looked really, really decent, especially the longer the game went on. And for me, it's kind of the same old Eagles. And I think that last season, a lot of the time, although we were great, we just seemed to do enough most of the season. And I think that in this game, it was kind of more of the same. It looked like it was going to be a walk in the park, but then it almost seemed as though we just kind of switch off a little bit once we feel as though it's done and just kind of coast over the line, and that seemed to be the same again. I had high hopes this season for Dallas Goedert. I thought that he was hopefully going to have
You
a big
identified as
year.
your man to crush it for the year, no less.
I did, and I think I'm going to have to rethink that already after one game, because he was absolutely anonymous, totally anonymous. I mean, Hunter Henry had a big game against us. He was a big part, I think, in New England getting back into it, and we just seem to have nothing at tight end. So I think, all in all, I'd say that I was impressed by the Pats, but happy to just do enough as usual and get the win.
It's an interesting one because obviously New England do New England things. I mean, the Eagles are a high-scoring offense, and I think it'd be fair to say that New England contagious for the most part. And I don't think anybody would have been all that surprised. You know what I mean? If we turned around before the game had started and said, "Aye, okay, it'll be a low-scoring game. Eagles will win by 3 points." Call it, 14-9, a 14-11, something like that. Some really, in most of them, all right, okay, fine. It's the Pats D, it's fine.
Yeah.
But the fact that Mac Jones did come out, he had an abysmal first quarter in a wee bit. And then he came out and he chucked out, this is what I've got it in front of me, 35 completions out of 54 attempts. So just shy of 65% completion over the game, over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Okay, he had the pick. He took a couple of sacks, and his rushing game's nothing to write home about, but Mac's never had a rushing game. But,
no.
Is okay, New England fans out there. Would your message to the New England fans be you took the loss week 1, but maybe don't be all that upset about it?
Absolutely, aye. And I think I've spoken to a couple of New England fans since the game, and I think they're quite pleased with how they played. I think they actually came away disappointed that they didn't get the win, and I don't think that many people expected them to. Given how well we done last season, and where they're at right now. But I mean, like Mac Jones, see the touchdown Hunter Henry scored. It was an excellent pass, fantastic pass for Mac Jones, and I think he's shown signs that he could be a really, really good quarterback going forward. So yeah.
Wait, see, could this be the return to not last year, but the year before Mac Jones, who really was something that had lots of people very excited? Right, well, we've had lots and lots of quarterback hype over the off-season. None more than for Kenny, look at how big my hands are, Pickett. And that's a team that didn't do as well. So yes, we're going to move on to our second game that we are going to discuss. And Gav, and this is Gav's doing this because I can't be trusted to talk about this without basically just descending into hysterics for the entire time I would do it. So, Gav, can you talk us through the Steelers at the 49ers? Did the boys from Pittsburgh have a nice evening?
Well, no, is the short answer. But I mean, this is one I'd pick the 49ers to win this one going into the game. But it was one to thinking 49ers heading east on the road, going to a place like Pittsburgh, and week 1 when there's so much uncertainty, thought there's a potential for a wee bit of banana skin there. We talked about the Kenny Pickett and all the hype around him, but actually it's a tale of two quarterbacks really, because actually Brock Purdy coming back from injury, QB1 in San Francisco for the future, and he had himself a day. Back in the saddle. His target choice is Brandon Ayuk, 2 touchdowns for 129 yards. Big day there. He had a day. But I think obviously the kill shot as well really come from Christian McCaffrey in the third. That 65-yard touchdown really put the Niners out of sight. And 30-7, pretty comfortable win for San Francisco and setting them up nicely for the year ahead.
CMC doing CMC things. What I will say is I quickly look at the stats. The stat lines between Pickett and Purdy aren't miles apart. When you look, so Pickett came in, 31 of 46, 232 yards, a touchdown, a couple of picks. At the end of the day, you're a quarterback. You might throw it to your own guys. Purdy, 19 of 29, 220 yards. And the difference is 2 TDs, no picks at all. For you, though, Gav, what do you think was the big difference maker in this game? I've got my opinions and I'm coming in around it. But what do you think was the big thing that made the difference?
Well, I think you've got to look at Christian McCaffrey there. I mean, 152 yards on the ground, and time now when most teams are going running by committee. He's averaging just shy of 7 yards a carry. If you've got that's going to keep things ticking over, then you're always going to be comfortable moving the ball.
Now, it's an interesting one because the Steelers' defense is much lauded. We spent, a wee minute with the last game talking about how elite and how high quality both New England and the Eagles' defenses are. Steelers are up there. Steelers are a defense that most people would look at and they would say, yes, this has got to be one that's going to be incredible all year. And at the end of the day, the teams were comparable in passing offense. They were both, okay, the Niners were 3 yards over 200, the Steelers were 2 under, so much of muchness. 188 rushing yards for the Niners to 41 for the Steelers. Are we putting the blame here on the Steelers' rushing attack, it not being anywhere near efficient enough? Or do we think basically the Steelers' run D need to have a bit of a look at themselves and ask why they are being ran? Even if we take out that mega run from CMC, we're still sitting with over 3 times the rushing offense that the Steelers mustered.
I think you do need to look at the defense first and foremost there. I mean, if you actually look at the Steelers stats, 41 yards, but I guess the game getting away from them pretty early on, that they're chasing it. Kenny Pickett had to put the ball up 46 times over the course of the game, put that against only 10 carries for the day you're having a ball here. I think there probably is a wee element of obviously the game plan having it shift away from the run attack as the 49ers built the lead. But yeah, as you say, I think when you're giving up almost 7 yards a carry to McCaffrey, guy's a star, but I mean, those are ridiculous numbers.
7 yards a carry's insane. Oh, sorry, I take far too much joy out of misery coming from Pittsburgh. I think this is one that Steelers fans hide under the covers. Wait till next week. Pray that the gods are kinder to you. Next week you're up against us. Next week you get a. It's okay. You've only went for CMC to Chubb, so it's going to be another trying to test that elite, quote unquote, Steelers defense. Oh, I don't know. So what do you think? Do the Niners look like the real deal? Many have been anointing them as a team that's going to be absolutely there or thereabouts in the NFC this year. Do you agree with that based off week one's watching?
I think in week one alone, you've always got that thing with West Coast teams, in the travel. I think heading over to Pittsburgh and putting up 30 points on the roads and only shipping 7. I think you've got to say that's as good a start as any for week one. I mean, you look at some of the other contenders. Kev's already talked us through. The Eagles had a tough time of it, despite getting the win. The Chiefs obviously dropped one at home, so that's one of the favourites. Really staking a claim early.
Oh, it'll make for interesting watching as we go ahead. And Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, doing very, very relevant things. Right, okay, brilliant. Okay, Kev, we are coming back to you. And for many, this will have been the game of the weekend. The neutral. This would have been one that was fantastic to watch. I was absolutely glued to it. Miami playing the Chargers. What a game. Talk us through it, Kev.
Well, like you say, absolutely incredible game. It was an absolute shootout. The lead changed hands no fewer, should I say, than 9 times. It was back and forth. So yeah, the Chargers took the lead first, and they took the lead 4 times in total. But Miami just kept on pegging them back, and finally got their noses in front towards the end and managed to stay there. The game had absolutely everything. It had long, deep shots to Tyreek Hill, which we're all come to expect. It had big runs for Austin Eckler. It had interceptions. It had just a lot, missed kicks. So yeah, it was outstanding. I think I would kind of bill it as run versus pass. LA obviously ran the ball a lot. They had Eckler with 117 yards rushing on 16 carries. But then on the other side, you got Tyreek Hill, who put up 215 yards on 11 receptions and 2 touchdowns. So yeah, I think in the end, the passing attack in Miami came out on top against the running LA. Hill basically stole the show. He got a touchdown towards the end of the third quarter. It was a 35-yard pass which he caught right on the goal line, and then that put them ahead actually. But they then went back behind, and in the final quarter, towards the end of the game, another really deep throw looking for Hill on the run managed to get Miami all the way up the park, and he then proceeded to pick out Hill again in the end zone. And Hill, the winning touchdown, I found it quite amusing. Hill seemed to be like hiding behind the defender as the ball came over, and he just appeared from nowhere behind him to catch. So yeah, a fantastic game. I really thoroughly enjoyed watching it myself. And for me, two really good teams. I think obviously offense came out on top in that one. Neither D will be particularly pleased with their day's work. I think both teams will have a really good season. I think they both showed that they're really good on offense and capable of scoring a lot of points. And they'll both be really good to watch as the season goes on, I'm sure.
Do you reckon you can use this game as one of these little bits that it indicates the direction of travel that the league's taking? Because we had one team who had a really solid ground attack. Eckler absolutely ate. And it's not typical Eckler stuff where it's, lots of passes, lots of screens, all that. There was lots of just nice, big, meaty running back runs. But then you've got Tua chucking it for 466 yards. Is this just a sign of the times that it's a passing league these days? And if you can't win it in the air, you're really going to struggle to win it in the ground, even if you're very, very good at it.
Yeah. I had noted those stats down: 466 yards passing and only 70 rushing for the Dolphins. And then on the other end, you had 234 yards rushing for LA and only 199 passing. And I think that's eventually what told in the end was the air attack for the Dolphins. Just the Chargers couldn't live with it. And I think, I've always really personally thought that you've got to have a really good balance. And if you look at those stats, that is a good balance that the LA have got. In Miami, it was just all about the throw. But if you're really good at something, and you can hurt teams so easily if you're effective with your passing game.
On the notion of teams getting hurt, we're going to move on because Gav, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, mate. I know it hurts. I know it stings. I know you don't want to do it, but frankly, I can think of no man better. I was going to say rip the plaster off. I think this is probably more akin to getting the full board bikini wax done.
Yeah, there's
It wasn't a good night in the office, was it, mate?
I don't know if there was actually an appearance at the office from the Giants' perspective. I mean, this is one that the Giants head coach Brian Daboll said they skunked, and I think it's pretty difficult to argue with that, a 40 to nothing game. I guess the crazy thing is that this is one that the Giants had actually put together quite a nice opening drive, moved down the field, and eventually had backed up a little bit, went to kick the field goal, perfectly makeable 45-yard effort for Graham Gano, and nope, it's blocked and it's returned all the way for 6 by Noah Egbengeni.
No, I'm going to come out. I'll be honest. I didn't catch this game. I caught the highlights, and I admit I woke up and I checked and I read through the line-by-line text. It was like field goal returned for touchdown, and I looked at it and I watched it. What was the snapper doing? How long did he expect the guys getting that kick set up to need? It looked like the line had an eternity to get started.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real nightmare. I mean, I suppose, Stu will love us for this, talking about the special teams unit, but Giants, I think they had 2 makeable field goals in the game. Obviously, with the block one we just discussed, Gano also shanked a 35-yarder. So from those 2 makeable field goals, minus 6 points for the Giants, which gives a bit of a slow start. But I mean, this game, 40 to nothing, it just went from bad to worse from a Giants perspective, I suppose. Opposite for the Cowboys. Even within that first quarter, the Giants had a pass to Saquon Barkley, popped up in there with a hit from Trayvon Diggs, and it's Deron Bland returns it for the Cowboys. 16-0 after that, and really it was all uphill from there. I mean, to be honest, you know, Brian, yourself, you had Dak Prescott in your fantasy lineup. You'd think that 40.
Yes, I did, ladies and gentlemen. I woke up, seen 40 and thought, yes,
yeah,
that's done great. 9 fantasy points.
Big numbers, but I mean, fact is, yeah, didn't have much to do. To be fair, didn't do much wrong, but 143 yards, pretty average numbers, in terms of, topping up that scoreline with Tony Pollard and with a pair, and then Kevontae Turpin making up the numbers for the Cowboys. But from the Giants' perspective, and it really was just a no-show. I mean, Daniel Jones topped up some of his passing numbers towards the end, but really not a great deal to be positive about from this week's game. I think it's just it's one to forget about and move on.
It's all right, mate. It's pre-season week -1. So is this one we talked? I mentioned earlier. Is it sign of the times, moving to a passing league, all the rest of it? New York are not built, to my eyes anyway, to be a pass-first offense. You know what I mean? It's they're trying to build a wide receiver out of spare parts. It appears the amount of slot receivers they've got in that roster. And Saquon is the star of that show. Yeah, Danny Dollars, as it is now, got his contract, got his payday. He ain't no Tua. He ain't no Pat Mahomes. He ain't going to be slicing and dicing up opposing defenses through the air. He's there to help that ground game do its thing. When you go behind so bad, so fast, is that the kind of thing that, as a Giants fan, you've got to look at and think, if that happens to us any other games, it's going to get ugly quick consistently, because we are not built to fight that type of shootout style game that we would need to.
I think that's definitely the challenge. Because you look at last year, and I guess the one thing that's really helped the Giants in their turnaround has been the coaching. I think you're right that in terms of the offense in particular, there's there's Saquon there, but it's definitely missing a few sort of star pieces to the team. But this is a team that really thrived in keeping games close last year. I mean, they did have 2 2 blowout losses against the Eagles, including obviously the one in the playoffs. But by and large, this is a team that's always really, really competitive and stayed in their games. I think the manner of that defeat really was pretty jarring last night. And I think that the big question that does become, where do you go to next? As you said, in terms of the receivers, they've tried to add everyone and anyone in free agency.
I'm fairly certain I've got a missed call from the Giants coaching staff, actually.
So I think that there's definite question marks there, but I think ultimately getting into that hole early, 16-0 down, you're right. I think that's not a team that's built to play with a big deficit. I mean, you're 7 down and you play attritional football, keep in the game, keep it close, and then make something happen at the end. But yeah, I think it was just a game that snowballed against the Giants last night. I suppose the got to give a wee bit of balance here and say that, from the Cowboys' perspective, you've got to say that, the 0 on the scoreboard's obviously the big thing that everyone's looking at, but it really helped with 7 sacks from the defensive line as well. That's a big number. Micah Parsons was in there, but he was one of many. Giving Jones the run around last night, and that's going to be a key part to Dallas' success for the season ahead.
Right, we'll tell you what, to wind this one up on a point on Dallas, it's fair to say, as you mentioned yourself, for Giants fans everywhere, this is one that you're just going to take your licks, take a hit, move on. Week 2 is week 1. It's all you can do with this one. Is this one where the Cowboys fans out there maybe need to be a little bit similar? You'll be happy you got a nice, comfortable win, but at the end of the day, is that kind of performance and that kind of fortune, to put it, and I don't want to be unfair, say, picking up 2 touchdowns so early from defense and special teams, that's not going to happen consistently, is it? So is that something that even the Cowboys fans out there need to look at that and go, right, need to just manage expectations a bit going forward? We're not going to be dropping 40s every week.
Oh, well, it's Super Bowl baby again for Dallas, Julie.
Oh, sorry, we them boys. Them boys.
I think, you're right. Obviously, with that's the beauty for the NFL. Things can change so much season to season that week 1 you do get some real freak results. The one that crumb that I'm hanging on to is that the Patriots dropping a 31-0 loss in week 1 of one of their Super Bowl campaigns to the Bills. I think it was the 2003 season. So these freak things do happen. Chiefs not quite the same, losing by a point, but again still losing one at home as the defending champions to the Lions. So there's always going to be freaky things, but at the same time, you're only 1 game back from the pack at this stage. So it's always been a what have you done lately league. Right now, if you're winning 40-0, you're looking good, but got to keep it up through the season.
So what you're saying is actually that it's Giants Super Bowl year. Got you. Right, okay, going for one team who is obviously bound for a Super Bowl. Let's move to another team. It's obviously bound for a Super Bowl. And this is where I get to have my wee moment in the sun. Because, gentlemen, we had not the first, not the second, but the 100th Battle of Ohio on Sunday. The Cleveland Browns, the mighty, majestic Cleveland Browns squaring off against ice-cold Joey B and the Bengals, who turned out to be complete pretenders. Now, disclaimer here, it was a complete monsoon, and Joe Burrow even had to resort to wearing gloves, which he hates doing, to try and get some traction in that ball. But nevertheless, the Browns come out 24-3 on top. It's glorious. It's magnificent. Nick Chubb is basically, I've actually put in the request to be adopted by him. It doesn't matter that I'm nearly a decade older than he is, but still, I'm actually nearly more than a decade older than him. I would still let him adopt me. 106 yards. Didn't even get a touchdown. Didn't even get a rushing touchdown. Only one man got one of those, and it was Deshaun Watson. An absolute clinic from the Browns on how to play football in Cleveland. And to be really clear, what I mean with that is in the crappiest of weather, where it was ground and pound. To be fair, we did put up, 144, a whole 144 passing yards. It was never going to be that game, though. It's worth saying, actually, that we put out 2 more passing yards on offense and the Bengals managed to put up yards on offense, as they came out with a whopping total of 142 scrimmage yards over the game. Everything worked for Cleveland on the night, and it needs to be said, one of, if not the big victory story of the night, has got to be Jim Schwartz in that defense. Now, boys, I don't know if you've seen the clip doing the rounds of Miles, the other person I'm considering putting adoption papers into to try and take me on, dribbling immediately in front of Joe Burrow and the O-line, mocking them. I'm actually genuinely a wee bit baffled as to how he wasn't called for taunting. I don't know, can you be called for taunting before the snap? Is that a thing? But he was certainly taunting them, and he waltzed clean through that line multiple occasions. Not necessarily rigging up a huge sack total, but getting the pressure on Burrow, getting in and just being such a huge disruptor. It was such a fabulous game. And yeah, you look at the stat line that came out of it. That is the worst, full stop, worst game Joe Burrow has ever played. It is the only time in his NFL career that he has finished a game with fewer than 150 passing yards. And every single bit of this just makes me delighted. Particularly given that the Browns, my beloved Browns, have got, I can't even remember it properly, but it is now something like our week 1 record since 98 is now 3-50 in 1 draw. And the only team we can beat week 1 is the Bengals. And that's it. Anyone else, come to Cleveland, have your free win, leave again. When the Bengals come to town, we can take it to them. And it's glorious. And we are obviously kings in the north, anointed champions. I'll be honest, we're probably actually as well just calling the season. Just wrap it up now and just let the Browns have their Super Bowl. It was a Sunday to forget for Bengals fans. It was a Sunday that you can write off a wee bit. Burrow didn't play at all in the preseason, dealt with niggly injuries, generally wasn't quite at his fittest. Historically, last couple of years anyway, but the Bengals in general haven't really got going till week 3 or so, and then it all clicks and they all start playing a lot better. But the North is a division that's looking like, well, it's certainly the Browns and the Ravens are looking decent. Ravens, okay, they were only playing the Texans. We'll talk about them there. But still, you've got to get firing. You've got to pick up wins. Cleveland did. And it really was an absolute cracker of a night. And it just made me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Particularly watching Joe Burrow look at his gloves and be all sad as he got pulled from the game early in the 4th. Which is as big a testament as you can have to the Browns absolutely destroying Cleveland. They're absolutely destroying Cincy, which is fabulous. See, I can breathe out now, boys. You can both like talking stuff now because I've had my moment and I'm now all happy with myself. Right.
Should we get a ring then for the week 1 World Championship?
Absolutely. That's it. Call the season. Call the season. Stop the count. Right. Okay. It is time for a little bit of a new segment because we are going to try now and go for the rest in one. This is where there were a lot more games than 5 games played this week, obviously. Yes, we still have one to go. We know. But we have got a lot more games. And sadly, airtime is limited. And if I talk as long as I want to talk, Keith will find me and he'll hurt me. So, to save that happening, we are going to go through all of the rest of the games. And gentlemen, you've got one line to sum up the game, your feelings on it, what you thought it would be. I am going to take things off today, and I'm going to open us up with the opening game of the season, KC Lions, and there's only one line for it. There's one pride, and Kelsey don't have none. Gav, you take it on for me. What have you got? Give me one line for Baltimore and Houston.
Well, I think it's welcome to football for CJ Stroud, but sadly he's the only one of his first-round QBs that didn't get on the score sheet for this weekend. He'll have to wait another week to add his stat line.
Right, Kev, you've got the joys of Atlanta and Carolina. Give me one line that sums that one up for us.
I really didn't get the memo for this one line thing. I don't know. I've just it was a tight game until the death, and Bijan brought the mustard.
There you go. See, that's what I'm here to defend. Like even with minimal prep time, Kev steps in and saves it. Right, it's back to me. It's Minnesota. It's Tampa Bay, and it was Bacon, baby. Baker, shake and bake, my boy. The only quarterback in my heart, and he baked up a storm on those Vikes, and there ain't nothing they could do about it. Kirk, I love you, but you got baked. Gav, coming back to you, the Commanders and the Cardinals.
Oh, well, I think the story in this one is Sam Howling. This is a questions about the Commanders quarterback heading into this one, and he took a bit of a beating as well. He had 6 sacks, but toughed it out and got the go-ahead touchdown early in the fourth, using his legs to put the Commanders ahead.
Right, okay. Kev, I hope you've been taking a deep breath and getting those mustardy juices flowing. It's your second last one for us, mate. The Saints and the Titans. Give me it in a line.
Similar vein to the one we've just had there for Gav. Tannehill, terrible for Tennessee.
Love to hear it. Right, well, I'm going to lead us off, and I'm going to say there was a bright light city going to set my soul, going to set my Russ on fire. Viva Las Vegas. Right, second last one of the run. Gav, the Seahawks and the Rams.
Well, we're in Seattle, but this one was all about the Legion of Who, because Cooper Kupp, obviously out injured at the moment. Who's going to step up? And we had the 5th rounder, Puka Nacua, picking up 10 receptions, 119 yards, and Tutu Atwell with the exact same yardage tally. So, a couple of no-names really stepping up and making the difference for the Rams.
Legion of Who, you get your T-shirts printed now, folks. Right, Kev, you have got the final word on our the rest in one. It is the Bears and the Packers.
Well, I'm just going to say Fields struggles again, flatters to deceive. 1 touchdown, 1 pick six. Green Bay thoroughly deserved their win. Love showing Fields how to be a quarterback.
Love conquers all.
Right. Yes, love conquers all.
Okay, folks, that is us drawing to a close tonight. However, it would not be the Gridiron Crew if we did not close it out with our statistic of the week. Now, this week, our statistic can only be delivered by one member in the crew, and that man is Gav. Take it away, mate.
Absolutely. So we've already relived great pain the horrendous start that the Giants had, but let's talk about the Cowboys for a second there. It's the first team since 2016 to kick off their season with the first 2 touchdowns come from defense and special teams. But who was the last team to achieve that feat?
Well, I'm not going to pretend that me and Kev don't know, because this one was shared privately, and we were all astounded, to be fair. But on you go. So who had the privilege and the honour of having that honour taken away from them?
It was, of course, the Minnesota Vikings.
There you go. Back when the Vikings knew how to win games, eh? Right. Okay, folks. That is going to close us out for the evening. So it's been the first time in a long time that I don't actually have to say the crew will get you through, because we did it, ladies and gentlemen. We made it. We made it all the way through the dark time, through the off season, through the darkness retreat, through the hyperbaric chamber, or whatever the hell it is that Aaron Rodgers lives in. We are back. It is the season. Week 1 is most of the way there. We are building our way up towards week 2. Now, remember, you can keep in touch with the crew via Twitter @GridIronCrew. You can find us on Insta, grid_iron_crew. Stick Gridiron Crew into YouTube. You will find us there. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts from. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a follow, help grow the crew community, and get involved. Stick your thoughts in, and we can talk about them on air. Now, as I've mentioned, we have got a fantastic game tonight to look forwards to. The Bills squaring off against Rodgers and the Jets. But until then, I've been Brian. I've been joined by Kev. I've been joined by Gav. We have been the crew. And until week 2, you've got the preview crew to look forward to later this week. And we will see you next week. Thank you very much, folks.